Welcome to the Daily Q&A. I'm Zoe Miguel, and I am a licensed clinical social worker and autism specialist. The question for today is, can I ask for the reports of the results of my child's evaluations before the IEP or IDT? So a parent reached out to me and said, I'm going into an EDT, IEP, and they're saying that I can't have the reports until the EDT meeting. So the answer is yes, not only can you request it, but it is your right to have them. So I have talked and talk a lot about the special education law. And I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty savvy in terms of what parents' rights are. And in this is by Pete and Pam Wright. You can go on my website, Autism and EI. So that's AUTISMANDEI.com, and go on the essential books for parents. And this is in there, and you can order this and get a copy. Super helpful to have. Really impressive to everybody at the IEP team meeting when you walk in with this. It lets them know that you are informed. And in terms of those reports, right, those written reports of evaluations, it's under 272, page 272, under access rights. And it says each participating agency, right, your school, must permit parents to inspect and review any educational records relating to their child that are collected, maintained, or used by the agency under this part, right? So we're talking about IEPs and special education. The agency must comply with a request without necessary delay and before any IEP meeting, right? Pretty straightforward. So that EDT, that eligibility determination, is also part, I would argue, part of that IEP process, right? If you walk into a meeting with a school team, right, and they start presenting all of this data and all of this information, right, and this is all to determine whether your child actually is going to get services. It's too much information to process for most of us, right? I want to be able to sit there with the written report and say, is this a good picture of my child? And do I understand this, right? I want to be able to go in with as much information as everybody else has on the team so that I can be an active participant, right? And this is why the law says this, is because you as a parent need that information to be an equal, right, IEP team member. And if everybody else has information, you don't, it's impossible, right? So you need those reports ahead of time to be able to, one, make sure it's a good picture of your child, to be able to understand it, have the time to understand it when everybody's not there talking at you, and to be able to note questions. So you go in and you say, I'm not sure I agree with this, or I have questions about this, or please explain this to me, right? Everything has to be provided to you in a manner that is understandable. If it's not making sense, it's not your fault. It's the people who have written these reports' fault that they didn't take the time, or they were not sensitive to kind of who would be reading this report. Okay, so it is your right by special education law to request those reports. If they say, oh gosh, we're so sorry, we're not going to have enough time to write these up, or we don't normally do that, right? You just sort of maybe reference the law, right? Say, it's my understanding, I'm super confused. I don't understand why I can't have those, because if I can't have those, I can't really participate, as an equal member on the IEP team. So, or just say, I totally understand that there's not enough time, and how much time do you need? So let's schedule that EDT IEP, right? Or let's better said, let's push those evaluations back so that the evaluators have enough time to write their reports prior to that eligibility determination meeting, and or IEP, or both. Okay. Um, so super important. Now, the next step is with COVID, it's even more important, because you are going to need all of these reports from a year ago, right? Anything that was done prior to when COVID came crashing down on all of our lives. You're going to need those reports. You're going to need to have them, the schools, do current evaluations so that we can know, one, where your child was, and where your child is now, to be able to decide what are the services that are going to be necessary to get your child to where they would be had COVID really not happened, right? And that is the responsibility of the school to provide those compensatory services, right? So any services they didn't provide or anything that wasn't individualized to your child over the past year, they are going to be required to provide that. Plus, right, if they need to provide anything else to be able to get your child to where they would be, were last year not to happen, and were they to continue to grow at the rate that they have historically. So all of those reports, understanding those reports, being able to compare where they were to where they are now, it's going to just be super, super, super important. In addition, if you don't have current assessments on your kiddo, write a letter to them saying, one, I want copies of all the evaluation and reports if you don't have them. And two, I want to schedule evaluations now so that, one, we can clearly identify where my kiddo was a year ago and also compare it to where they are now, right? And you need those two to do that. Put it in writing. If it isn't written, it didn't happen, so don't call. You can email, that's great. You can email the principal or your contact person, case manager at the school. That's great, keep the email. And just know that you need this information to, one, be able to be an active participant, right, in your child's IEP. It's required by law. And two, so that you can decide, right, help with the collaborate with the school to identify what compensatory services are going to need to be offered. So write that letter, keep a copy of it. If you give them the hard copy, make sure that you have a copy for your records, and move from there. Okay. I will be talking a lot more about compensatory services at my upcoming live events for the month of April for Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. So I will be doing live events on the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th at 12:30. I'll send out emails and Facebook invites and all that stuff. But I'll be going more into how to determine what the school needs to do as we go back to in-person learning. If you have any specific questions that you want answered, you can always, again, go to my website, which is autismandei.com, and sign up for an individual consultation. And I can then talk to you a bit more about your individual child. And I can also, if you send me the copies of the reports and all that stuff, I can help you begin to decipher percentiles on all this stuff. So if you would please follow this link and go to my YouTube channel. One is that in the description part will be all the Facebook and website and contact information, all that stuff. But if you would also subscribe, it would be super helpful. If I can reach a certain number of subscribers, it means that I can continue to provide this kind of information for free. Okay, so the question was, going back, can I ask for, as the parent, can I ask for copies of reports for evaluations, assessments, anything prior to that EDT IEP meeting? The answer is yes. And not only is it yes, but you have a legal right to it so that you can be a fully participant member of the IEP team. And again, there's law that supports that. Not that I'm a lawyer, but I've been through this a couple of times, and it's not what I say, right? It's in here. So under access, I think access to records. So hope that's helpful, and I will check in again tomorrow for daily Q&A. Okay, bye everybody.